Yeah. All right. So I got some questions here. I'm sure I'll figure out more.
Okay.
So first thing is kind of for both of you. What's the what's the kind of loose agenda for the summer, assuming everything magically disappears and you know you can have 8,000 fans in your stadium again. So
I'd have to get a stadium first. I'd say for us, we really do. I mean, our track program's been pretty successful, but we really, once you get into May, we've never really had a track summer. We try to get in the weight room here and there, but as far as working on anything track specific, we're such a small school that everybody's in something else, in volleyball, in basketball. So they're splitting all their time. So, trying not to make too many plans in advance, because obviously we plan for this season and plan for the next day things and just don't know what comes next. But, starting to work things out of maybe having a little more of a summer with some track dedicated days and looking to see what the options are once we're told we can actually do something.
Rawlings, anything on kind of that? Because I know you guys do a lot of summer stuff, especially
Well,
pole vault.
Well, I was gonna say right now we have, we've turned in what perfect situation if the world goes back to normal on June 1. I don't see the world going back to normal on June 1, but I've had some discussions with some other coaches about possibly, the state of Missouri, Michigan came out with they would extend the season. There could possibly be some baseball games, track meets, whatever. We've looked into that. I have no idea whether that's going to be feasible, but that's something we've looked at. We've got some kids interested. I think what that makes more sense for would be if you had some seniors who were just missed out on their senior season, giving them the chance to go compete. I think that's probably more realistic, because I think once the deeper you get in the summer, the focus has got to be on, if we're able to do something in the summer, that means that fall sports are going to be able to happen. And that's for some of that's where they're going to be needing to dedicate their time at that point. So,
football's bound to start kind of digging in their claws and trying to do weightlifting as soon as they can, I'm sure.
Right now, we've already had the discussion. As soon as we can get kids in the weight room, we're going to get kids in the weight room. I don't know how it's going to look. I'm sure it's not going to look. You're not going to have 4 people around each rack and everybody's 6 inches apart. I don't know that you're going to have that. I think we're a long ways away from that. But as soon as we can get kids in and get them working out, I mean, our kids may be doing something, but they're not staying in shape like they need to be ready to compete.
Yeah.
Right. That's been one of my biggest worries of kind of jumping into a summer too, is what does it look like with the time restraints that we're going to have jumping into other sports and still trying to get them into a shape to compete at some kind of level. Well, what does it look like? What do you do? I mean, we don't have football as much to deal with in Steelville, being we don't have football, but on our girls' side, I'm the head coach of both boys and girls. What do we do with them trying to split their volleyball and basketball summer days? What do we do? I mean, the smaller school aspect is really, I think, what's got me kind of handcuffed a little bit is what coach do I go beg to see what we can do for a week or two?
Well, our summer is in a normal situation, we've been with them for 3 solid months. It's one thing to start your summer up and see kids, hey, they're walking out of track, they're ready for basketball, they're ready for football, they're ready for something else. It's real hard to say, hey, we're walking off the track at the state meet and we want you guys in here doing summer stuff next week.
Yeah, right. Give them a week or two at least.
It may be basketball, it may be volleyball, it may be football, it may be tennis. It could be baseball. It could be whatever. But I think there comes a point a few years, 2 or 3 years ago, one of the bigger programs up in Kansas City, one of the most successful programs in the state, was listening to him. Their coach talk, was up at Blue Springs. He said, when we finish the season, when we get home from the state track meet, I've got kids in multiple sports. He goes, I'm going to see them in August. He said, if they're good enough to be that quality of athlete, they're in other sports. They're very seldom is that kid just a track kid.
Right.
Yeah. See, now Steelville, they have baseball and cross country in the fall, and volleyball maybe.
Alan, I think you died on us.
Oh,
I know. You still there?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I think you froze up on us, Alan.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you still there? Oh, well, I guess let me go to you on this one. He's having some issues. Now, with the state changing, with things changing, like, I know basketball, we've had some discussions with some coaches about, like what ways could the playoffs change for basketball? Like basketball, they brought up reseeding after the tournament, things after the districts. Like for track, how do you see like something that could be changed?
You getting him, Coach?
No, he kind of stopped on me too.
Oh.
Okay. I was making sure it wasn't just me.
Oh, I think you guys are back.
Yeah, we keep having our conversation there, Alan, and keep cutting out.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we keep losing you.
Oh, okay. Am I back on now here?
We can hear you now.
Okay, all right. But like with some of the basketball coaches, we've talked about what changes we can make.
Well,
lost him again.
Maybe not. Maybe I got him on like the reseeding spot. I mean, I'll kind of grab him on and see. I think track year, and it may not be the same for bigger schools, but I'm sure it is with the way they've done their districts and everything like that, and realigned. And we were in a district this year where, we've won 4 out of the last 5 on the girls' side. Our boys won 1 last year. Our district this year was going to pick up Jefferson, which for Class 2, Jefferson's been in the top 4 every year since I've been the head coach, and this was year 6. You'd love to see it kind of, the top teams get their own district or things like that. But in a perfect world, there's got to be somebody who comes down and figures all that out. I think the best part about track is if you're fast, and the time throws down. And every time you get to a new place, if you're faster than that person, you're seated ahead of them, and you got to go out there and run the race and see what happens.
But I think on our end, the most favorable thing that's happened in the last 3 years is they've left some of the outlying schools be outlying schools through districts. Where what I mean by that is for the longest period of time, we were running into Kansas City and St. Louis, who we really weren't competing against during the year. At districts, we would go to St. Louis. We went to Sedalia and picked up some of the Kansas City schools and stuff. But right now, last year they shot us down toward Poplar Bluff in that direction, split the distance in between. This year we went back the other way. We picked up Jeff, which is now realistic because they split. So you took Jeff City High School, split them in half, and now they're our size. So it kind of, we've been lucky the last few years that by the time we hit some of those big time St. Louis, Kansas City schools, we didn't have to see them until we got to state.
Okay. Are you consistently like in the same district like for the last few years, or does yours jump around as much as ours does?
We are all over the place. We've been what has gotten us right now is like Lebanon is right on that bubble. So they went back to Class 4 this year. Okay. When they went back to Class 4, I knew we're a wild card now again because when you start counting schools in Southwest Missouri, there's 8, and we're not one of them. And so that throws us into, are we going to get pulled? I mean, years ago, we got pulled all the way in. We went to Kirkwood for districts one year.
See, when I was in high school, we went to, you think, Eureka and Parkway Central or something like that one year.
We had a 6-year period where we did districts and sectionals. We ran all year against the Ozark Conference going that direction. We go to districts, and all of a sudden, we're literally, the year we won districts was at Kirkwood, because that was also the same school year we won the state football title and everything else. So, I mean, we were loaded. But from we went a 6-year period that we would literally go to districts and see nobody we had seen all year long.
Now, something I noticed in Class 2 is, like, you have Crocker, Richland, Dixon, sometimes Newburgh, and then Licking, which is all within this area, and Lakeway. Well, Lakeway don't have track, but cross country follows the same. What happens is Crocker's in this one district in Van Far or something, or Midway. Dixon is in South Cowloy, and Richland is in Jefferson City, and all these schools are within 5-10 miles of each other, if that far.
I saw where Crocker was going to Cape Girardeau Central for districts this year.
Yes,
wow.
They had a long journey. Ours would have been in South Callaway.
See, ours was this would have been our first year where we were back to back in the same place. We were going back to New Haven.
We were back to back for sectionals, which was great because it was going to be right here. So we didn't have to leave. The big thing was when our district got shifted this year, graduation, instead of being the day after sectionals, which that's one reason we fight for sectionals so hard, so our seniors sleep in, get up, and compete here.
Right.
But our district was at Hillsboro last year. We got moved out of that total group and into the group that we were going to be at Camdenton this year. So I'm like, all right, I can handle getting up and going 45 minutes a day after graduation. We can run a couple different buses and get them over there, get them as much sleep as possible.
See, we're a week before you all, so our graduation's usually done the weekend before we go to like state. So it is our sectional weekend and things like that, but we've always ran our graduation on a Sunday.
The way it was when I went to high school.
Which has kind of made things pretty nice that we've never had to really worry about that one. That's not ever been anything that impacted us too much. And now who knows what happens. They may love the way we do it this year and change things all.
Well, that ain't no lie. But that was the way we were. When I went to high school, Alan mentioned Van Far. That's where I graduated from way back in the day. But that's we graduated on, and they still to this day graduate on Sunday afternoon because it doesn't affect anything else. There's nothing comes into play.
Keeps it out of the way.
We've had graduation here at Waynesville multiple times since I've been here on Friday of state.
Yeah, I remember that.
You sometimes have to make a decision. Am I going to graduate or am I going to stay at state?
I've seen a few kids that have gone
Have you ever had kids that have missed one or the other?
We had a couple boys a few years ago. They made it through in the 4x4, but they'd probably been the 16th seed. I mean, the odds of them moving on it would have taken a train wreck. And they ended up not going. But other than that, everybody's always went. Now, we had a 4x4 group a few years ago who literally ran off the track at state, jumped in a van, and we got them back here. We were down at the old field. They pulled into the Votech. They ran through that building, out the door, into the metal building, put their cap and gown on over their track uniform, and walked straight out onto the field.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, the timing was perfect on that. But that was my hurdle coach, Coach Ray. Her son was in that year that happened. And we got him back literally just in time to be the last. Might have been three of them. Might have been three of the four were the last three that walked out and graduated.
Now, I noticed on some states I was looking at different ways that they do playoffs and postseason and things. where a lot of them do districts, but there's a few, like I think California is one where they do like a regional, like each region has each school, then they put in their qualifying times. And then in order to go to the, qualify for the regional meet, you have to be one of the top 8 or 16 in your event. Kind of, do you like Missouri's system the way it is, or would you rather see a system where, they put in a qualifying time, kind of like what they do in college, where you have an automatic qualifier for a postseason?
Well, I think if you did state like you did last year, and everybody in every classification went to a different spot, you could do the qualifying thing. If you do it like they're doing it now, it would take forever. It takes forever to run that meet anyway, much less if you add more to it. I'm not sure logistically you could do it the way it was set up now.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, it'd be pretty tough. Just thinking on it, I mean, we've had some kids sometimes that I look at their times, and it is kind of bad when you get to state and the top 4, the 5th place wouldn't beat your best runner, but just because of the way the district lined up and how you got those 4 kids and they went all the way through and were 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think I do like Missouri's system of at least having that time where you can qualify that extra person, or you can get that extra time in to get there. But I think with our numbers and just trying to get like Coach said, get that meet moving and keep things smooth, you're going to have to stick to the 16 as they get there. And the logistics of having, say, a kid from Steelville end up running against a kid down in the Boot Hill just because of the way times lined up. I mean, you'd have kids going different places. I feel like one of your kids would qualify to race here in this number and one would go to another, and I can't wrap my mind around how even to get it done.
Yeah. And I do like that Missouri's put in the qualifying marks, because I had a kid get through in the long jump a couple years ago, and he was legit. And the reason I say he was legit, because we went to districts, and the kid that was my 3rd guy to qualify, he qualified in the last meet of the year. I think I wanted to say he had to jump 22-1. It was legit. If you're jumping 22-1, you deserve to go to districts as a 3rd guy. And we come to districts and go 1, 2, 3 in districts. Now, we also went to sectional after that and went 5, 6, 7. So none of them went on. And they all probably should. It was one of them deals. It was a bad day. It was just the rain had hit, and they were all speed jumpers, and they got against some guys. I mean, it is what it is. But in 25 years of being here at Waynesville, we've only qualified 2 kids as a 3rd person to go to districts. So it is tough to be that guy. I mean, when you can qualify that kid is legit. So it doesn't happen very often.
Smaller school level, you almost rarely see a 3rd person qualify because you just don't have the numbers of kids to go through a lot of times.
We had this whole debate with our conference meet about 3 years ago about letting a kid do that. And we ended up deciding, because it's so tough, where I can only enter 2 kids in the long jump at conference. And I couldn't enter this kid because he didn't do it till the meet after conference. It was actually the Crocker meet over here that night that he did it. But we allow that kid to do it at conference, but whoever's the 3rd of your 3, those points don't count. So if you went 1, 2, 3, they still medal, but they don't count toward team points. And we figured that was about the fairest way as a team category, but it's also fair to the kid too.
Is it kind of the cross country method where, the top 5 score, but then you have, 15 runners, but they don't affect the team score?
Kind of along the same thing, yeah.
See, our conference allows 3 to score. You get 3 entries, and we score everybody that's in it. But 95% of the time, I mean, I'd say our first conference, we've won them 3 years in a row now, and I'd say our first one was just sheerly on numbers. I mean, being able to.
I wish Ozark Conference would do that. If Ozark Conference would go to 3, it would help me out a lot of times.
Yeah. So the Frisco League, it's the top 2 normally, but a lot of Frisco League schools have schools that have 2 or 3 kids on their track team. So we're trying to, I'm going to the javelin thrower. Hey, you got an open event. I need a 4x4 runner. How's your 400 time going today?
Well, at least you didn't start with, can you just finish the 400 today?
Oh, I've had to go to kids, throwers, go, hey, I just need you to walk and run and finish a 2-mile. All you got to do is finish. There's 6 people in the race. You're going to get points.
Oh, we lose you there. Oh, there you go.
Lost it for a second.
Yeah.
We've gone through, and now I've been blessed. I mean, at this level and this, especially with not a lot of track background coming in, our distance program here for the last couple of years has just been, our cross country team took 2nd in state last year. I think I would have had 3 guys that would have been able to go mile 800 this year on qualifying times alone. And of course they would have been 3 out of our 4 on the 4x8. So we've lucked out on that side. Numbers wise, our boys program, out of the 6 years I've been here, we've got 1 district championship, and the girls have 4. And our girls numbers, I couldn't tell you how it works out, because our girls numbers average about 14 on the team, where our boys go to about 35. And we won a district 2 years ago with 12 girls.
You had the right 12 girls, Coach.
It did help out that we had a 4-time state champion. She won the 2-mile 3 times, and she won the mile once. And so she kicked us in a little bit on our districts and our sectionals when she was pulling out her 30 points and then jumping in on the 4x8. She actually, for her first 3 years of high school, was the anchor leg on our 4x1 that qualified for state all 3 years she ran it.
That's great.
Yep.
Well, this was going to be this was the year, because we were actually deep enough on the boys' side that we were going to fill in some holes that in the past, it had been a few years since we were able to do it. The year of the boy, we took 2nd in districts at Ozark 4 or 5 years ago, and it was the same. It wasn't our top kids just dominating. It was, you look down and we were scoring 2 in this, 2 in this, 2 in this, 2 in this. And we kind of had that team put together this year to where we had that depth to where our top kids were pretty good, but we also had that second kid in every event. And I think that was, I really like the way things had set up. We'll put it that way. It's one of those things, if you can get that at a school and you can keep it, man, it's huge.
Well, I know at Dixon, we won the Frisco League in boys this year. And we probably had 20 sprinters come out this year. We had enough to have two full relay teams of all the sprinting relays, just 2 complete groups. So we would have had, I don't know where all the sprinters came from, but they came from somewhere.
I think our boys program was lined up to be pretty nice. Like I said, bringing in that cross country group, returning 3 out of those 4 baseball kids that were that 4x1 and 4x2 group, had a state qualifier in 300 hurdles that was 5th place at sectionals in the 110s. He was coming back. Just we were lined up to do things pretty well. Just depending on where we ended up and things like that. Now, Jefferson and us, our district would have been a lot more fun. Last year, we kind of ran away with both of them. I think our boys won by 80 and our girls won by 60. And but this year I was a little more excited. It would have put a little more pressure on me and trying to figure things out. And for some reason, I kind of thrive on those. You miss those days when it is more fun like that, and trying to guess what numbers are going to come out and who's going to end up in what place, and seeing those kids rise to that next level just to make sure they get that 1 more point, 2 more points.
Yeah, we got about
that was a nice
6 minutes before it quits working, by the way.
we had a couple of the football linemen and one of our big basketball kids that had moved in had all. I don't want to say last minute, but it all kind of happened that first week of track. That all kind of fell into place. They were going to come out. I have no idea how good they would have thrown, but it would have been exciting to kind of see because it was stuff we really preseason wasn't counting on. And yeah, that's the worst part about missing a whole season is you're going, man, what if if all these pieces just fall together in the right spot.
Right.
Now, what do you guys plan to do for your for the seniors this year? Or if you guys are going to try to do anything this summer?
I talked to our baseball coach a little bit today. We've knocked some ideas back and forth of maybe even trying to get a little senior coaches softball game going on to kind of do like a senior night like that. I've done a few spotlights for all of our kids, just trying to, keep my own sanity and just get to talk about my kids. I feel like with track, that's what I miss the most is, we get those practices down, and once you get to a meet, you're fine tuning some little things, but you got to fix the things when you get back to practice. When I get to meets, I just get to talk about how great my kids are, and missing out on stuff like that. I'm just enjoying getting to talk about them right now. Even it's, the more I can talk about them, more I can get their name out there and things like that for them. Just gonna try and keep doing those little things to try to make whatever difference. I'm not gonna give them their season back. I can't do that. It's already there. We just got to move on and make the best of the little things that we can. And if there's an opportunity to do something else, I'm going to jump on it.
Well, that's that's the same boat we're in right now. We've had some discussions about if things can get anything close to normal, we want to do something, not just for our track seniors, but for all the spring sports seniors. We don't really know what that's going to look like. I know tomorrow night, I'm going to go up. We're going to turn on, because it should have been our home meet tomorrow night. And all day tomorrow should have been our home tennis meet. So we're going to go up and do the lights at 8:20 tomorrow. We did, after the governor came back and shut everything down for another 7 days. We're actually not letting anyone else come up to the parking lot or to the field or anything. It'll just be me and the tennis coach and some of our coaches up there. The kids have all been told we've got situations put into where they can't get up there because, hey, I've got a great bunch of kids, but they're also kids. They want to be around each other. They want to be, the social distancing part, they're not real good at. And so we've had to put some parameters there, but we are going to do that tomorrow night. And we've done some Google Meets with our kids, and we've just trying to stay in contact. And like you said, Coach, just talking about them, because that's, the track meets are fun because we get to hang out in the middle of the football field and watch what's going on and talk about our kids. I mean,
I usually wind up working them somehow there at some point. I'm usually starting the meter.
I would love to have a new track, but I will say not having one and not having to run a meet, that might take the cake on something.
There's some times that would be really nice, but I'll tell you what, I know at Waynesville, getting the parents on the road, it's gotten better, but so few of our parents go watch their kids run on the road that the night that we can be at home, it's kind of cool that I think sometimes it's the first time they really get to see it. They're out for track, well, whatever. But when they get to come and watch, I think it's pretty special for our kids too.
So you get a lot of the area schools that come to your home meet just for that reason, so their parents can watch them.
Right.
And I don't think we're ever going to drop your meet after coming last year. Those facilities are second to none.
Well, Coach, we don't want you to drop our meet. I want you to keep coming back. Matter of fact, I may go down to Hoppers tomorrow night and eat just since that's what I would normally be eating on that night.
Yeah, thanks for talking here and stuff. And
yeah, no problem, Coach. You take care.
We'll try to